course, I get an update right as soon as I go to record. So cool. I love that. All right. Starfleet Academy, Episode 7. Somehow, it got gayer. Hello and welcome to my review of Starfleet Academy, Episode 7. We are going to jump straight in because I don't have anything to say in my preamble. So, here we are with the title screen of the show. So, the show starts off with Caleb. He misses the beta tard, hasn't talked to her in like a month or something, and he hasn't even sent her like a voice message, even though they were super close and they had this moment together. I guess he's just scared to send her a message. He has his little iPad out and he records this whole message and then he deletes it for some reason. Not sure what his deal is, but maybe by the end of the episode we'll figure it out. Sam is having issues with her hologram stuff because in the last episode she apparently got shot and it messed up her something and it's causing her to glitch, even though it wasn't an issue when they were doing their whole laser tag thing. But for some reason, I guess it's all of a sudden a problem and she has to go to rehab for it. So whereas Hollywood actors usually end up there because of drugs, I guess this girl just is perpetuating the stereotype of getting shot and needing help or something. I don't know. But her hair is just awful. It's just awful. Like, it's a terrible look on the actress. And I don't think any self-respecting officer, character, fan, or anything like that would ever wear their hairstyle like this. So, not iconic. Not iconic in the least bit. Let's see, where's the... So, part of the story of this episode is that they're sending the kids away for spring break or something, which they teleport the kids, as you can see on the screen, they teleport the kids away to various locations on the planet. Now, I know the burn, which happened in Discovery, made it impossible for people to go to warp, because, once again, if you didn't know, an alien grew up on a planet where they were close with dilithium crystals, and they missed their mom so hard and cried about it so hard that they blew up all the dilithium in the galaxy, causing all of the Federation ships to blow up as well. And so there's no dilithium left, which causes more problems in the future of this episode, because apparently the fact that the burn made warp impossible for so long, now that they do have warp, it's completely worthless because they can just teleport wherever they want to in space. But as you'll see later in the episode, they can teleport anywhere in space, apparently. Also, they show a kid who is going to Duluth, Minnesota. And as you can see here, Tig Notaro's character is asking this they-them character. She's like, are you sure you want to go there? And she's like, mm-hmm. And she's like, all right, well, good luck. And she sends her on her way. The problem with that is that Duluth, Minnesota, as of right now, is sitting at an 87% white population. So I guess what they're saying is that somewhere in the past 800 years, something happened to cause the one kid from that state who ends up going to Starfleet Academy to be a black kid. Nothing wrong with that. I'm sure it has nothing to do with an influx of immigrants or anything like that. I'm also certain that the writers aren't trying to say something with this quick and easy to overlook part within the first 3 minutes of their show, right? No. So Captain Mushmouth, she ends up telling Genesis that she's perfect, and because she's so perfect and the way she handled everything that went down on the Miyazaki, that she nominated her to the pre-command track, like basically to become a captain. And because she's so perfect at everything, Genesis, she accepts, obviously, but her face betrays her emotions, and she looks very uncomfortable with the idea, but she says she's on board and she accepts. So Darum pretends to be straight and keeps telling all these other guys in his group to say hi to your sister for me, as if he's not gay. And then the gay Klingon says that he's embarrassed to wear a beach shirt while he's wearing a skirt, which, again, is kind of ironic that he's embarrassed to wear a beach shirt, but he's a man wearing a dress, which makes me uncomfortable. So him and Kyle, the kid from the War College, are going to go to Ibiza Sure, whatever. He tells Kyle that nobody actually likes Darum, which is the first smart thing he's ever said. Caleb and Mushmouth have a scene where he basically says that he's mad at her for not asking Nusbraka where his mom is, which is completely stupid. Like, why would she ask him? Why would she ask him, hey, where's this one student's mom that I put in jail, essentially, and, you in jail too? Like, have you seen her recently? Where would she be? Anyway, instead of Caleb going off to a host's family in Senegal, she agrees to let him stay there. Darum gets kidnapped by other Kionians, and Gaiden sees him being taken away through a portal that looks a lot like Doctor Strange's portal, which again just kind of raises questions about how they can teleport from Earth all the way to Kionia or wherever they're going. And it's like, if the Kionians are part of the Federation, why didn't they share this technology during the burn for that 100-year period? And like, if we didn't know who the Kionians were before the burn, how did they make contact with the Federation in that 100-year period? And again, why didn't they share their technology? Like, wouldn't that make things a whole lot easier to go to other planets and say, hey, do you have any kind of way that we can traverse the stars? Like, we used to use dilithium, and now we can't use that because of that one alien who screamed so loud it blew up all the dilithium. Do you guys have anything that can help us out? Like, I feel like, again, I'm thinking harder about this than the writers did. They're just so eager to put a black man in a skirt and feminize him than actually think about their show and how it would make sense. But yeah, that's all. So Klingon boy follows Darum into the portal, and he sees that Darum has been kidnapped by fellow Kionians. He busts in with this big rock, and Darum explains that this Klingon is my Kozine, which is the name of the episode. And the Kozine is basically like a best man, which, again, the Klingon is in a dress, so it's really not his best man. It's basically just his GBF, his gay best friend. He pretends to be strong, but he's just very feminine looking. And then we get this wonderful moment where the Klingon essentially craps his pants. I don't know. I thought it was slightly funny. So Caleb is tanning, I guess, in the middle of the atrium under artificial light instead of just going outside. And he says that he swam in the aquarium, which is gross, so he would stink. But, like, why is he trying to tan? He's already got dark skin. I don't understand that. But Genesis comes in, and she says that she skipped out on leaving, and she's still going to stay at the academy for these 4 days. And she was planning on hacking into the course curriculum to get a start on studying, because they're trying to make her the Hermione of this show. If you've seen Harry Potter, you know that Hermione, she's like the know-it-all. She loves doing homework, she takes extra classes, and they're just telling us that Genesis is this type of character when they don't actually ever show us what makes her so smart. They just tell us that she's amazing and that she's the smart one of the group, but they don't show it. So Gaiden and Darum, they end up meeting up with Darum's fiancé, who, surprisingly enough, is a woman. And it's funny because in this scene, Darum's fiancé says something about him technically being royalty. But then they go on to say that they won't be doing any of that royalty nonsense, after stating that Darum being royalty is an outdated birth lottery. But they're getting married because they were promised to each other as children, which, like, if saying someone's royalty is outdated, then wouldn't a promise to each other type of marriage also be outdated and stuff? It's very dumb. Also, we're introduced to Quill, who is definitely not Darum's girlfriend's actual girlfriend. Like, the two of them are clearly together, and it's really obvious. Oh, and she's ugly. So Darum says that he still wants to be with this girl, even though he planned on being at Starfleet for 6 years, and then after that they were supposed to get together. But he clearly doesn't want to. His heart is in Starfleet Academy. But he promises that he does still care about her, and he wants to lead Kionia with her. Caleb and Genesis have a pointless forced relationship type of tension thing, even though Caleb, like, just had sex with the beta tard girl just like a month before, and now him and Genesis have this like love triangle type thing, which just makes him a POS, in my opinion. Like, why would you even be making eyes at another girl if your girlfriend just went through this really traumatic thing, and you're trying to wait for her, essentially. It's just very odd, and I feel like it just makes him more of a piece of crap. I'm also starting to wonder if this show has something to do with Quentin Tarantino, because we get yet another foot shot of somebody. This time it's a Tig Notaro foot jump scare. So there it is. I don't know if you wanted to see Tig Notaro's feet, but here's one of them, and the toe is enlarged. So you're welcome. If I had to see it, you do. So Caleb admits to Genesis that it freaked him out when the beta tard was in his head and saw his trauma, and that's why he hasn't talked to her in a month. Genesis says something like she doesn't want to be a DEI hire based off of her dad being an admiral, so she wants to sneak in to the bridge and sit in the captain's chair to see if she belongs on that track to becoming captain. It doesn't make sense to me, though, because she's still a cadet, and like, to become captain, you have to work your way through the ranks. You don't just go to a thing that teaches you how to be a captain and then you become a captain after you finish that thing. You start as an ensign, then you go up to a lieutenant junior grade, then you go to lieutenant, then lieutenant commander, then you go to commander, and then you become captain. But all of that takes time and experience. You don't just get to become captain because you want to become captain. Caleb tells her that hacking into the bridge is like the hardest thing ever, and they're also gonna try and do it anyway, which you know that they're going to. Darum and Gaten have a moment, and they both get to see each other in their pretty ball gowns. Again, the Klingon wearing a dress, which is crazy because, like, I could see going to another planet, and the people of that planet go, okay, you're going to be in the wedding party. What would you like to wear? And I feel like it's silly for him to, again, pick a dress, because he's still very masculine sounding, or he tries to act masculine, but to again pick another dress, a pretty ball gown this time, it's wild. But they both get to see each other in their wedding attire, and you could cut the gay sexual tension with a knife. Look at this. This looks like something that Siegfried and Roy would wear. And they have this moment, again, where Darum explains that their clothes are made from seaweed and that it's still wet, which makes the Klingon cold. So Darum takes off his coat of many colors, his rainbow coat, and he puts it over this, and it looks very suggestive. And then, again, they both have this moment where they're like, are we going to kiss, or what's going to happen? Again, I'm just uncomfortable watching this kind of stuff. And these scenes are so cringe because it involves a Klingon. And it's just, look what they've done to our boy. Like, the Klingons were this masculine race that were so revered for being powerful and strong. And for hundreds of years, they did things one way. And now all of a sudden, they're wearing dresses and getting their eyebrows pierced. And it's just a disgrace to the Klingon race. And I love the Klingons. Worf is my favorite Star Trek character. Not just because of his character, but the actor portraying him really made you believe that the Klingons were this proud warrior race. And he tried so hard to be the best Klingon he could be, even though he wasn't raised on Kronos and he wasn't raised by Klingon parents. And he just wanted to be the best Klingon he could be. And now we get Jaden, who is just like the biggest girl ever. It's irritating. So Darum ends up saying something offensive about Jaden running away from his parents or something. So it causes Jaden to give the ball gown thing back to Darum. And he sachets away in his little ball gown. There he goes. And it makes Darum sad. So, what do you know? It was really easy to get onto the bridge, so that wasn't an issue at all.
Barely an inconvenience.
So while they're on the bridge, Genesis ends up getting an all-access pass from the programmable matter, which is on the bridge for some reason. And it turns out that Caleb catches her doing this, and he realizes that she was just using him to get there so that she could use this all-access pass for something, which causes more forced drama and tension, and they end up getting caught by Madame Foot. So one of the things that Gaten was supposed to do as the best man was to perform this speech, which he goes on and on about how he knows that Darum loves Starfleet and he's this great guy and he's so liked and has fun there. And he kind of is talking about Darum in a way that makes it seem like he's obviously got a crush on him. And so Darum's girlfriend, female love interest, beard, whatever you want to call her, realizes that he loves Starfleet more than he wants to rule with her on Kionia. And she ends up getting really worried about this whole arrangement. But I think it's all a ruse, as I'll explain in a minute. So Genesis and Caleb, they get in trouble by Mushmouth, and it turns out Genesis wanted to delete comments in her file saying she doesn't trust that she belongs. Basically, she doesn't believe that she's perfect in every way, and her solution was to delete the statements in her own file that say she's perfect in every way. And it comes off like one of those things that you get asked in like an interview, a job interview, where they're like, okay, so what are your weaknesses? And it's almost like when people are like, oh, I think my weakness is that I care too much. And even then, it's like, I don't really understand. She suffers from imposter syndrome and she's too perfect, I guess. But the only punishment, again, going back to my 12 reasons why this show doesn't feel like Star Trek, is that they don't have any consequences for getting in trouble, quote unquote, here. They get 200 hours of menial labor, which is like 6 days or something. It's not really a punishment. Oh, I take it back. I guess she doesn't get recommended for that pre-command track, but she clearly kind of didn't want it anyway. And if she did, she's clearly going to find a way to get that anyway in coming episodes. So again, forced drama. She was too perfect and she just didn't believe in herself. So this next part is pretty evil because Darum's now wife, she tells him that she knows he wants to go back to Starfleet. She basically says, if you step down and renounce your position as my co-ruler, that she can lead Kionia alone. Clearly, she's going to be the first woman of color and everything to be able to do this, which comes across like it's just a coup for her to allow him to leave so that she can take over the planet and be the sole ruler, which she clearly just wants to rule with her lesbian girlfriend, Quill. She's clearly just taking power away from a guy, which has never happened on Kionia. So it's like, it's evil. She's literally done this whole thing. She's organized this whole thing just to take over the planet. It's just evil. It's very evil. So Caleb finally sends Beta Tard the message saying that he misses her, and I personally would be pissed off if my girlfriend, who I had shared so much emotionally and physically, and even on a deeper level that a Betazoid could actually offer, if that person ghosted me just because of something that happened, which she was in recovery from a coma, after she saved him from cannibal aliens and certain death. What the heck is he thinking? He ghosted her for a whole month after she saved his life, all because he was like, oh, my trauma. It's just very... It's like, why would you do that? He's such a bad person. And then at the end of this here, Darum and Gaten, they have a moment where he's like, oh, thanks for being my best man. You're not such a jerk after all. And Kyle comes up and we get that moment just then, which is great. And I feel like I've lost part of my soul. My final thoughts about this episode are that there's no male, masculine men in this show. Starfleet Academy was taken over by women, apparently, because every man is either feminine, gay, or weaker than the women. And I feel like there needs to be balance in the show. For every weak or gay man that they put in the show, they need to offset it with somebody masculine or somebody who's at least heterosexual. But women in this show, they undermine men at every turn. And it honestly feels like this show was written by boomers writing how they think Zoomers would think. And it comes off like...
How do you do, fellow kids?
What?
It's cringe. It's very cringe. So it's profoundly bad. It's just feelings in hallways wearing the skin suit of Star Trek, and it's filled with so much liberal bullcrap with no actual plot to justify the 45 minutes spent watching this crap or the 10 to 20 million that it cost to produce this actual poop from a butt. So terrible, 2 out of 10 score. Screw this show. But yeah, those are just my thoughts. I really hope you enjoyed watching this review, and I'm working on more videos. Can't wait for the next episode of this to come out so that I can review it and, God, chip away at my sanity even more. So anyway, like I say at the end of every episode, live long and Qapla'.